Today I want to make a claim that I'd like you to consider. I believe God wants you to be a reader of books. If you're a Christian, if you're one who follows Jesus, reading books in particular, has always been fundamental to who we are as a people. God uses it to shape us, to grow us, to reveal himself to us. After all, his word comes to us in a book. The Bible's made up of 66 smaller books. It's one grand story revealing who he is, what his plan for our redemption is, how we become more like him. It even has our future in store. The reason so many of us love stories is because we're part of one. But understanding that story more fully requires reading. And so it's no mistake that wherever Christianity has gone in the world, literacy has also followed. In fact, the highest literacy rate in our nation's history came even before it was a nation, when Christians established the Massachusetts Bay Colony. Education, and reading in particular, was paramount for all its children, all its citizens, so that we could read the Bible and know our God. And we could read other books that would help us understand him, follow him, trust him, and know his world, and simply enjoy the discovery of knowledge, as well as great stories. So being a Christian and being a reader are two things that have always gone together. We face a literary crisis today. And the crisis is not one of illiteracy, that is, the inability to read. The crisis we face in our society, including in the church, is what's called alliteracy. That is the ability to read, but the choice not to. And it's a tragic choice when you realize just how many wonderful books there are available to us today. Another aspect of the literary crisis we face today has to do with the internet. Now, the internet is wonderful. It's a great resource in many ways, as are the smartphones that we carry. But there have been some negative ramifications from being so digitally connected. And one of them is a decreasing attention span and ability to read books and read them well. That's documented in this book by Tony Reinecke called 12 Ways in Which Your Phone is Changing You. It's a very insightful book. He writes this. He says, if you want to internalize a piece of knowledge, you have to linger over it. And our reading that we do on the internet calls us to do just the opposite of that. It's a fast kind of frenetic reading, not reading often sustained longer pieces, but rather short sound bites. He also says the digital age hurries us, shatters our concentration into a million little pieces. Our lack of self-control with digital marshmallows malnourishes our sustained linear concentration. Today, given the amount of written words that come into our lives in a given day, we simply have grown careless in our reading. Though we have more information at our fingertips than ever, we're reading more poorly than ever. One reason is because we become so distracted. And think about it. When you're reading a piece of information on a website, typically, you're not looking to settle in and read something for a long time. You want quick and immediate information. In fact, I found myself reading an article not long ago on the internet, and I found myself impatiently wanting the author to get to the bottom line, get to the point. Forget all of the introductory material. Why? Because the very medium of my phone conditions me for immediacy. In order to wean ourselves off from that and recover what Reinecke points out that we've lost, that is a sustained ability to think well, to consider numerous perspectives, to think about the logic of an argument, or to settle in and enjoy getting pulled deeply into a story. Digital media makes all those things very difficult. So we need books, and we need a love of books in order to gain sustained thinking, to draw accurate conclusions. We need books, not sound bites, essays, not quotations. Maybe you'd admit, I'm just not a reader. Just don't care for books. Let me give you some suggestions which I believe can help you. The first is make it a priority. None of us do anything without carving out the time for it. So start small. Maybe begin with a pretty accessible book, maybe a short book that's easy to read. Start small with 15-minute increments. Set a timer. Don't close the book until the timer goes off. Then after the next week, shift it to 20 minutes, then 30 minutes, and so forth. And pretty soon you'll be spending an hour in your book, something perhaps you've never done before. Another suggestion is to befriend a reader. Surround yourself with people who love literature, who love good books, challenging books. Ask them to mentor you. Look to them as examples. Begin to imitate them, and you'll find yourself picking up their wonderful habits of reading. Fourth, I would suggest that you read widely. Of course, God wants us as Christians to read the Bible, but not just that. Our minds are expanded, our intellects are deepened, our ability to think well and process information grows as we read a wide swath of different types of literature. A book club I'm currently involved in the last 6 months has read a novel, a memoir, a historical book, and the script of a play. When we read widely, different kinds of literature, our brain has to adjust, and it grows. Fifth, I would suggest that you persevere. Some books are harder than others to read. Some authors in particular are challenging. A few years ago, I wanted to become comfortable reading the theologian Jonathan Edwards, but he writes very difficult books. But because I persevered, kept at it, I reached a threshold past a point at which I was comfortable with his writing, but it took work to get there. The same thing happened a couple of years ago when I sat down, when I decided to read most of the world's works of Charles Dickens in the course of a year. Some of his books, like Tale of Two Cities, are relatively easy. But other ones, like Bleak House and Little Dorrit, are challenging. But because I kept at it, I persevered, I wanted to master Dickens. I wanted to be comfortable with his writing. My perseverance paid off. Now I read Dickens with great pleasure. Finally, let me encourage you to be selective in your reading. There are millions of books in the world, and we don't have that much time. So it's okay to start a book, find that it's not very appealing or not very helpful, and to close it and move on to something else, something better. Books open to us a whole new world of information, a world of adventure, a world of discovery. They help grow our minds. They help enlarge our hearts. They help expand our understanding of people who are different than us, of places, of cultures. They help us see the world through God's eyes. They help us grow closer to Him. I believe God wants you to be a reader of books.